So I'm going to show you how to make custom taunts. If you didn't already, check out the setup video so you know how to set yourself up to get everything here ready. There are two ways you could make custom taunts. You could either make it yourself completely, or you could try to take an animation from the internet and retarget it onto our model here, onto this our own bones and armature. So first, to make from scratch your own custom animation, let's go to the rig and retargeting. Make sure you're on the object properties. Under custom properties, you'll see control influence and retarget influence. Just make sure control influence is 1 and retarget influence is 0. And then we'll click on the model and we'll go to animation. It should bring us into pose mode. We can start selecting the bones. I'm going to go click here, go into the dope sheet, then click there, go to action editor, create a new action. I'll name this wave. And I'm just going to make a quick animation. So here with this rig here, I'm going to hit T to bring out this menu here. So we have a rig here. If you bend this, it'll bend. I won't go into too much detail on animating in Blender, but you could see these control the elbow back here. Same with the legs. If I do this, these out here control the knees. If I take the root and I bring it down, you see things kind of bend and move. So I'm just gonna, if you want to reset something, you could click it, hit Alt G to reset its position, Alt R its rotation, and Alt S to reset its scale. You can also click A and do all that, so you reset everything. So I click A, Alt G, Alt R, Alt S, that resets everything. So I'm going to make a wave. So first, I'm going to make the starting pose, which I'm not going to worry too much about everything. Just do something very simple. So we'll start out like this. I'm going to hit I, hit location, rotation. I'm going to go forward, maybe a couple frames. I'll raise my hand up. Well, before we do that, I made a mistake. I want to hit A to select everything, then hit I in location rotation. You don't have to do that. If you're only animating one thing, then you could just set it for that particular object or bone. But just to be safe, it's easier just to hit for everything. It'll make it messier to deal with later if you want to clean it up. So do keep that in mind. But since I'm just making a real short animation, I don't want to think about it too much. So I'll just raise this up. A, I, location rotation. I didn't move the timeline, so I'm going to undo that. And then I'm going to move forward. Hit that, do it again. A, location rotation, move it forward. Select the bone. I'll move it over here. A, location rotation. Again, I probably don't have to click A for this, but I'm just doing it anyways. I'll move this over here. A, location rotation. And if you look in, you can press space to play, and that's our animation. Nothing too special. Hit space to stop that. Something to keep in mind when animating. Your root, if you try to move it, let's bring this up. So it won't let me move it because there's a limit in game. Your taunts won't be able to go past a certain point. So you only have this much room, and this much room left and right, and up and down this much. So do keep that in mind. Also, you'll notice that I'm trying to scroll it and it's taking a while. So if you find that for some reason you're trying to move your root and it's just not moving, then it's probably because you moved it too much, and you could just zero it out and then move it again. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to hit Alt G just to reset its position, and I'm going to click this thing right here. It looks like a shield. It says fake user. That just ensures that it gets saved. So it's best to do that. I'm going to export this out. Very simple animation. Save. I'm going to go to File. First, I'm going to, if you're in this view, just go to View Layer. Find the MeecheenMe rig. Click it. Right click. Select Hierarchy. File. Export. FBX. We're in the catwalk right now because I'm going to use this already made animation in a second. We'll go to FBX All. Selected Objects. Armature. Z-axis. And export. We'll go into the folder. Here's the wave. We'll drag it into Unity. Bring it right here. So it's very important now that you set this to legacy or it will not work. You could go into animation tab and you could set the length if you want. You could set if you want it to loop, clamp forever, once. You could set to how you want to act in game. Default is I think just once, so I'll just keep it to default. I'll go into the taunts. I'm going to drag the wave in. Now you could put it, well, I'm going to have to go to drop that down, go to the actual animation, drag that in. I'm going to put it into main. When I'll show you later in how to do a group taunt, and that's where an other and start comes into play. So let's make an audio for it just to show how to do it. I have Audacity open. I'll go to this audio I have, put it in. It's very loud. Okay. If it was a stereo track, you would have to set stereo track to mono. You would have to reduce this very low, probably 8,000. Unfortunately, audio is we're going to be using is uncompressed. Maybe in the future I'll be able to handle compressed audio, but right now we have to deal with uncompressed, so it's going to be very low quality. If it sounds a little bit bad, you can try going to effects and going into normalize, hit OK, and that could help reduce some background noise, especially when there's a silence. Sometimes you have a taunt that needs a lot of silence beforehand and then some audio. So normalizing it helps reduce the sound during the silence. And so this is about a 2-second audio. Probably max is probably around 5 seconds at decent quality. So we're gonna go to File, Export Audio, go to Other Uncompressed Files, Option Wave, Unsigned 8-bit PCM. Hit OK. I'll zombie low quality. I'll save that. Hit OK. Let me go check the audio out. 17 kilobytes. The maximum allowed is 25 kilobytes. So we're good there. This is how it sounds. You can kind of hear that background static. You won't be able to get rid of it all. So now in Unity, we're going to bring the audio in. Click that. Just drag that in here. Once it's in here, it's very important to go click on the audio. Instead of Vorbis, it needs to be PCM. Hit apply. Then you could just drag the audio here. Now these other options here, move speed is how fast you want to be able to move with your taunt. So we could set this to 6 to move the maximum. Move acceleration is how fast you want to accelerate. Rotate speed, how fast you want to rotate. There is this follow camera. Now when you tick follow camera, it doesn't look at the rotate speed. Instead, it follows where you're looking, with your mouse. So when you turn, it'll turn immediately. If you have that ticked. If you don't have that ticked, then when you turn, when you turn your view, it won't actually turn your character. The only way to turn your character is to hit the left and right keys. That will actually turn your character. So it's a different way to control your taunt. The stop audio is when the animation finishes or when you interrupt your taunt. Should it stop the audio too, or should the audio continue playing? So by default, it stops the audio, but you could have it continue playing so it doesn't just get cut off immediately. Keep in mind, you don't have to have an animation. You can just have audio, and none of this matters when you just have audio. So the audio will not get cut off if you just have audio. You don't have to worry about setting it here. But when you have an animation, then you do have to worry about setting it if that's what you want. So we'll save this taunt. I'll save it where our files were. Just save it here for now. Bad wave taunt. And no errors, no warning, so that's good. It's bad wave taunt right here. I'll copy that. I'll go to my MeecheenMe folder. If you don't have a MeecheenMe folder in your documents, then just start up the game once and it should automatically create all these folders for you. Go to configuration, player, custom, taunt. I have all these other here. I'll just paste bad wave taunt here. I'll start the game. If you had the game running already, that's fine. You don't have to restart the game. You just have to refresh. You just have to click away and then click back just to refresh things. I'll look for my taunt. We named it bad wave taunt. I could click it, and there it is. The audio is very low because I have my audio low, but it's there. There's our bad animation. And now let's go into how to create a proper animation by taking it from an already made source. So I'm going to go back into here. I'm just going to exit that out. Go into pose mode. I'll just hit A, Alt G. Once everything's reset, go back into object mode. And we'll import our animation. I download the animation from MeecheenMe. You go into animations. They have some animations there. I'll go to File, Import, FBX, the catwalk animation, import. And it looks like this. I didn't bring in the model, only the bones. So it looks a little bit weird. Let's go into layout and put it into default visuals. So I'm just going to select that. Press M, scene collection, just to move it into here. I'm going to select it. I'm going to lower it down. Now that's here, I'm going to have to set up the retargeting. We can see it's animating, but our model is not. So to do this, go to the retargeting object here. Control influence, set that to 0. Retarget influence, set that to 1. So now we got to set it up. Open the retargeting, and you have all these sources. We're going to have to manually assign things. So in the Object Constraint Properties tab, you'll see already placed constraints, copy location, copy rotation, and they're on all of these. So we have to show it what it needs to copy. So for the body, let's hit the target, the armature, which is the name of what we imported. It's the armature. And we'll find, let's just type body, no, maybe spine. So it might be spine, spine 1, spine 2. You could choose and see what works. Do the same for the rotation, armature, spine. I'll go to the foot, go to armature, type in foot, it's left foot. Do the same for the rotation, armature, type in foot, and choose the left foot. And you're going to do this for each one of these body parts, armature, choose the right foot this time. So I'm going to do that now. After do that, everything might look fine. Usually with MeecheenMe, the way I have things up, it works fine with MeecheenMe's rigs. But sometimes it might not look fine. Things might be rotated wrong. If that's the case, you have to go into the targets. So under each of these sources that you just set up, they have targets. And you can rotate these. So for example, this is the body target. We'll go to the head target. This is the hand. We'll go to the head target. And if I rotate this, it'll change the way the head is rotated. Usually when things don't look right, it's in 90 degrees increments. So this is quaternion, go into XYZ Euler, and just play around with 90 degrees increments of things until things look right. If it doesn't look right still, then you might just have to eyeball it, and just rotate it manually until it might look right. But in our case, things look fine. So once we have this, you'll see that the body is animating, but now we have to bake it. So we'll go click on the rig, our rig, and we'll go into animation. Now we need to make sure all the bones are visible. So go into the skeleton and hold shift and click that other circle there. And now you'll see all of our bones. Now we want to do, this part gets a little bit iffy, it might be a little buggy, I'm not sure. But just what seems to work for me is I click the bone, I click away, I click the bone again, then I click A to select everything. I go to pose, and I'll go to animation, bake action. So you could set the where to start, where to end. So let's actually go back. Let's click on this armature just to see what frame it ends on. So it looks like about frame 36 it ends. So let's go back to our rig, pose. Let's select that bone, deselect, select it again, just because it might be a little bit buggy. Hit A to select all, go to pose, animation, bake action, type in 36 I think it was. Now only select the bones, make sure that's checked. Visual keying, make sure that's checked, and that should be it. Hit OK. And you should see all these keyframes here if it worked. If it did, usually sometimes it might be buggy and not work, and it'll only have like one keyframe here and one keyframe at the end. That's usually a sign that it didn't work. When you see all these keyframes here, that's a good sign. I'm going to rename it catwalk. I'm going to hit that skeleton, that shield icon just to make sure it's saved. And we could actually confirm that it worked by going into our rig. Let's go into the retargeting. And it's important before you export that go to the object, custom properties, and make sure retargeting influence set to 0. So when you're exporting custom animation that you manually made, you want to export it with the influence set to 1. But you see, when we retarget it, this messes it up. We need to set this to 0, and we need to set retarget influence to 0 after we're done, so that when we bake it, it doesn't look at the other armature anymore. It only cares about our armature. And if we go to our armature, you see it's working just fine. So let's export it. We'll select our armature, and right-click, select hierarchy. Go to File, Export, FBX. We'll save it here as a cat walking. And then we'll go to make sure selected objects, FBX all, armature, Z for the primary bow and axis and hit export. When it's done, we'll bring it into Unity. So this is a catwalking. This is what we just made. Let's go into, click and drag it into Unity. Bring it right in here. Could get rid of this for right now. So let's find where it went. Here, catwalking. Important. Set it to legacy. Apply. And I'm gonna want this catwalk to be a looping animation. I'll hit apply. If you look over here, it looks messed up. That's fine. That's just the way the importing is. It might be fixed in the future. I think it just depends on Unity importing, and Blender also has the same problem that it's imported weird. It might just be a problem with the FBX files. I'm not sure, but it is more than likely fine if it looks fine in Blender. If you want to make sure it's fine, you could just, I mean, since we didn't touch the model, it wouldn't matter because we didn't change. But if you want to make sure, you go to fix rig. Things should look fine here. If it does, then you're good. Let's go to tools, create a window, catwalking. Let's go down to the animation, catwalk, put in as main. I'll have this be, let's set this to maybe 3. We'll have it, won't have it follow the camera. We'll just have it be walking like this. I think this is fine. Maybe we'll make this a little bit faster, maybe 90. And I'll save the taunt. We could save it here. I'll name it catwalk. No errors. That's fine. Keep in mind that the max animation length is 15 seconds, and there is a limit to the size in memory, so you might have to play around with the frame rate to lower the memory size or just reduce the length of your animation. It'll give you a warning when it runs into that issue, but in our case it was a short animation, so it's fine. Let's see where it was saved. Catwalk, this MCT. I'll copy that. I'll go to our taunts file within our MeecheenMe. Again, if you don't have the MeecheenMe here, just start up the game once and it should create everything. Go to custom taunt. I'll paste it in here. We have a game running already. I don't have to restart the game. Let's just refresh this. Click away and click back, and let's find our catwalk. Here it is. Play it, and that looks perfectly fine. You can click and drag it into here to add it, and we have plenty of memory left for more. So now I'm going to talk about how to make a group taunt, and I'm going to do this. You could do this with if you have an already made animation. You could do this with targeting. There are a couple of things setting up that you want to do. When you have your animation that you retarget with, it's important that you do it facing this way, just so things don't mess up or whatever. So you want it, whatever the way the model was facing originally, that's where you want your animation to have its forward facing. So for example, you don't want the rig facing this way and walking, because it might mess things up. So let's just undo that. Actually, so I'm not gonna do with an already made animation. I'm just gonna do one custom made from scratch. I'm just gonna select this armature, select the hierarchy, X and delete it. Just get out of here. You don't need it anymore anyways because we already retargeted it. I'm gonna go into the retargeting in the object tab in the custom properties. I'm gonna turn the controls influence back on. I'm also gonna go to this we go to animation and just exit out. And I'm going to hide the bones that I don't need. I don't need to see most of the bones. I'm just going to click this first layer just to show me the bones that I want to see. Now I'm going to go into object mode, and I'm going to select hierarchy of our rig. I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate it. I'm going to right click just to put it there. So now we have two of the rigs. I'm going to take this rig, and it's important where you place it. It should be placed in front of it, distance of 1, where I think it's -1 in this case, and rotate it 180 degrees. So not sure which axis. Okay, it's the y-axis. 180. This is how it's going to be in game when you do a group taunt. This is how they're going to be placed. So it's important that when you make your animations that you place them like this. Otherwise, they might be offset a bit. Another thing to keep in mind that, remember, since you cannot go past a certain point, that if I click this and I go into pose mode and I try to move, it won't go past a certain point. If I go into object mode, because there's a limit of how far they can move. If I go into this rig, if I go into pose mode, I try to move this bone, they cannot. So you cannot have animations that they go around each other. It's just the limitation that we have. This is so that when they do the custom taunts, they stay within their collider, so they don't walk out and start going through walls too much or whatever. So just keep that in mind. So I'm just going to reset that. We'll do a simple animation. I'll go to this. I'll go to pose mode. Just hit A, Alt G, just to reset it. So we're going to make 2 new animations. So let's go into here. I'll hit new for this one. Call it player anim. And I'll go over here, the other one, and I'll name it other anim. You could also have a start animation that you want. This is the animation that plays when you're waiting for someone to come up to you to interact, to do the group animation. You do not have to set up a start animation. There is a default one in case you don't set one up, but you can if you want to. I'm not going to in this case. So let's just do a simple high five. So I'll go into here, go into pose mode. I'm just gonna lower the arms down to start out with. Okay, I'm gonna hit A, select everything. You don't have to do everything. If you know exactly what you moved, you could just set the keys for those. It'll probably be better in case you want to clean things up. But I'm just doing something very quick and dirty. So got the first keyframe. Next keyframe I'll put up here. I'm gonna, okay, we get to move first. I'll move to frame 15. Then I'll move it up. I'll set I location. And then the next frame I'll just do 25. And good enough. Set that. Here's our animation. Okay, it's a little bit slow, but it's fine. We'll go to object mode. We'll go to this guy now. And let's go to pose mode. Let's lower his arms down. Okay, hit A, select everything. Hit I, location rotation. So it's the keyframe from anything. I'll move it up 15 frames. You can see the other arm moving. So we know how to align things up with the other animation. I guess I'm doing the right hand. You know, let's do do that. I, location rotation. Let's go up a little bit. I think it's 25. And we'll just, there you go. This is our group animation. A lovely high five. Let's export it out. Now, first, remember, let's hit the shield on this guy. Let's then go to this, the original player rig. Let's also hit that shield to add a fake user. This just ensures that it's saved. We'll save as well. Always remember to save. Now we'll go to select the original rig. Forget about this guy. Select the original one. Right click, select hierarchy. We only need to export one of them. If you export another one, things might break, I'm not sure. So FBX, name this high fives. Remember, selected object only. Apply scaling, FBX all, armature, primary point axis, z-axis, export. Once it's exported, let's go to where it's saved. High five, let's drag that into Unity. Right here. Once it's imported, go to rig, send it to legacy. Very important. Otherwise, it will not allow you to create the taunt. Animation, we don't need to change anything. It's going to be a once animation, not looping or anything. So we'll just leave like that. Let's go to tools, play custom things, create a window. And so now let's go down here. Now I named one player and I named one other. And I just let myself know, because the main player, let's go to main, and the other, we'll go to other. We're not going to do an audio or anything. We'll just leave everything at default here. Save taunt. And high five. Save that there. We got no errors. Good sign. Let's go into where we saved it, the high five. Copy it. Go to our custom taunts. Just paste it in here. Let's go into the game. Let's just click something else and click back to taunts. Let's see if our high five is in here. Here it is. Click it, and there it is. So if you go into game, since we didn't create a start animation for it, so when we go into game, it's gonna just default. We didn't add the high five to our character, so let's add the high five. Here it is. Put this over this one. Close. Let's go into game and see how the start animation looks. Hit X, and here's our high five. And this is what the default waiting for someone to interact with you animation looks. And then when someone comes up and interacts, you'll do the high five. Another thing to keep in mind is that when you're doing your animations, it might be a good idea to go to Add, Mesh, Plane, set this down to -1. This would be the floor. I'm hitting S to scale it, just to scale it up. It's good to have to know where the floor is when you're animating your feet and stuff, or when you bring in a custom animation. Sometimes they're a little bit lower, so just keep that in mind, that you want to have it done properly with the floor. Otherwise, you have to redo a lot of stuff, and it could get annoying. So that's how you make custom taunts, custom animations. Hopefully, it's not too difficult. I think it's easier than making custom models. But if you have any problems, let me know. I think it's this is a really fun thing to have in the game. So hopefully people don't abuse it, like making this band taunt that I have here. We don't really want people doing this, so don't do things like this. But if people do this, they'll be able to disable your taunts in game anyways. So have fun, and let me know if there are any issues.